Chap- Chapter 61. Ha! Ha! Listen, my friend, I believe in history and in every clever moment formed by our teacher, but I do not expect that anything of it would help me on a way that you think. I do not avoid the history, but I do not also build my present and future on it. I want to do something better. My friend started to walk around. It was cold, and even that he had so much clothes on himself, as myself too, because there wasn't heat in the room. Probably he didn't want to, and nor anyone knew that someone lived in the house. But his sense for humor, in that moment, strange, very strange for me, didn't leave him. I couldn't recognize him. I knew that man, but fights or wish for made this his dreams exposed different men, maybe anger and fear, disappointment, too many years of waiting, so many heavy and strong pressure on his emotional status made him to become full of irony, disdain, how that man could be a fighter for better, or they had to be that way. So many different people were involved in it: students, workers, poor one, tired one, sad one, disappointment one. But where was mistake? In the basic side of it. Nationalists, they used noble revolution, fights for better life to cover themselves. For one horrible reason, as an act of revolution and under cover of national protection, they were nothing less and nothing more except fascists. And trusted everyone, my friend, paid a huge price with his life. He was used then for someone who was his good friend and assistant turned against him. Dangerous in one shape, on every step, even today it is in the field of criminal. Every torture, every step which could destroy one's life happens, and health is part of those. Anyone felt such thing. Everyone should be educated as high as possible. People should think, people should be respect. They needed to be understand. It was the first way of the revolution. But who won and because of what real ideology fell down with people who made it? Because after one win, those who were behind continued with their push on every way. And it was hard to believe how anyone of so good actors could be able for such a thing. They were too close. I would like you to meet my friend. Started my friend when he heard a knock on the enter door. He is a very good in organization and he's excellent in this. He helps me a lot, explained with such a voice. What? That man who stepped inside of the room looked at someone who even didn't know how to write, at least as someone who could be as one of the leader of the revolution. We can't stay too long in this place. Everyone are looking for us. He started before anyone could said a word. That man, old professor was repeated during he tried to find something, and it was a picture. Look at carefully. Dominic took a photo. Man reminded her on very famous man that she knew excellent, but she couldn't give an answer. Yes, my dear, that was the father of your professor. He said and sent you here. Dominic was surprised, but in the moment everything was clear in her head. Chapter 62. So you want to tell me that he knew from the beginning? Diamond shouted. Do not be so loud. We don't want that someone here. Dominic sit tried on the tired on the chair in her room. During Diamond was walking around very nervous, and he suspected that everything was a part of the late politician or game by some new revolutionist and not only a criminal or some social person, which that girl could have. And most of all, he has a history. Diamond started to shout again. Are you happy now? Dominic didn't know what to told him. So, are we successful now? Dominic started to laugh. What success is? When you find your happiness, that's it. Finally said Dominic when she could got breath. But it is hard to be happy if everyone around you are not or they do not allow you. Anyway, what are we going to do now? Shall we continue with our research and tell Professor about his father? Asked Diamond. He probably knows, but allow me to hear what his father did it. Maybe that was a point, or he was too hopeless that he sent me there for help on the place where his career couldn't be ruined. Give me a time, please. Dominic was very interested with everything what was going on around. What would you do if you find out how your parent was some kind of revolutionarist? Or maybe the worst, one of the other side, and that you parent fight for some ideology and that maybe was murder. Dominic was surprised with Diamond's question. For sure, that any one of those people who were active in the war or some revolution expect peaceful one was prepared to shoot if that was necessary. That is so logical. She felt that those diamonds' expression hurt her personality. Anyway, I go used to that. This is a time when everyone could say what wants. But I wonder, what if you are with those kind of lies starts to destroy someone's life who gave everything to make you better? She sounded very sad and different than modern time. What and wanted from such a young girl as she was. But her reasons were huge and she survived every bit of suffer. That true which her great parents lived through. Not too long time ago, even that it seems to look like everyone. This is the game without rules. If someone wants to think how he is right and how his opinion is better than others, then nothing would stop him to overtook other place. Diamond sounded right. You're absolutely right. Dominic said what was on her mind. I have to go now. Tomorrow will wait me so many jobs to do. Maybe we overreacted. Maybe that was just coincidence with past and what is going on now. I mean, with that poor girl. My grandfather is he still here? Dominic smashed on head because she completely forgot about her guardian. Your grandfather is here. Dominic looked at Diamond and she started to wonder was it a good idea to told him anything. Next level. It was half past midnight. Some strange sound came from the upstairs. Dominic knew where that could be, but she didn't have an idea who that could be in those hours. She slowly had stood up on her finger and started to walk to the door of her room. It was dark and cold, and she had only a light silk night dress on her. Without lights, it was difficult to saw anything, but from the stairs which leaded on the roof, from time to time, some very weak shiny line made view a little bit better. Dominic reminded herself on those days when was a young girl and when she couldn't slept, so her place was to sit in the hall in front of her parents' room and listen their talk or TV and go to sleep there. She loved it. In the morning, always woke up in her bed. Her grandfather knew that secret and he took her in bed without her parents' knowledge. That was still covered thing between two of them. Dominic decided to wait how she could saw who was upstairs, now or never. She didn't know how long her parents was on the test when something as creaking of wood paid her attention. She expected anyone except the shadow of well-known figure. Dominic felt beside a strange curiosity, something as fear that made her body tremble. In that moment, young woman realized that the best thing for her would be to went back into the room. Tomorrow morning would be more suitable for found out what was really going on. 60 Chapter 61. Dominic opened her eyes, but her body hurtled her. After that coldness and shock which survived before just few hours ago, it was hard to fall in the sleep because of fear, because of feeling of disappointment, because of wishes to got back home on a warm, on homemade, on safe, far away from everything, from dangerous. If that just could be, but if she could left everything behind and allow it to has stood half done that would has been found by someone else, even that continued to follow her. No, I have to stand up and I have to face with him. With pain in every move, she put the same clothes as last day and with careful movement went on her destination. What happened? Would happen at and it was mentioned. Yes, the situation would be not pleasant. Dominic never liked it, but when something had to be, that was the longest walk that she ever had in her life, even before every step that made was continued. In the room for breakfast, no one had been. Dominic turned around and chose a small table in the corner next to the window. Fresh winter air was at this moment. The young girl started to enjoy, but sound of steps woke her up faster than she wanted. Her heart started to be stronger. Dominic, it's early. It was Diamond. He looked his watch. Is something wrong? He noted that Dominic has a strange look on her face. Dominic decided to start it with direct question. I saw you last night. She knew that something like that wasn't proper and wise because gave him an opportunity to lie, but she didn't anymore care anymore. What you were doing up there on the roof? She acted as her property was attacked. Oh, are you? Oh, are you angry? He tried to make fun with her. I asked you something and it is important for me to get an answer. She didn't want to allow him any kind of avoid her reaction. What you were doing up there? This time, note in her voice was sharper. Okay, I was looking for something what maybe could be useful for your searching. He explained. What? Diamond continued. Something what my grandmother left up there once upon a time before. Are you satisfied? Now he was angry because he discovered the secret. Your grandmother? I didn't know that you have any connection with this place. Now her spontaneous reaction was shock. Yes, the place belonged to my great parents before the war. When it started, they wanted to run away on the west, but something terrible happened, which never allowed them to left. My grandmother was hiding there during the war, even that this house had been used by different organizations, even militants. She told me that up there, in case if something happened, is something what could be useful and even could save my life. I never found what was it, but now I want to do so. If anything or anyone want to present me on any other kind of way or my family as cooperation with war crime, that thing could help. Dominic on first thought knew about what he was talking about, but maybe there should be something else. So, you know this area very well. But her trust was bigger after what he said. You know everything, but still you didn't want to say nothing. She was very cold. I don't know what my family history has with everything. What happened here? I thought maybe that those things could be useful, but I really regret now. He didn't hide that she hurted him, his feelings. Dominic stopped for a second. Maybe she overreacted. Maybe he needed to hide these details from his past. Maybe he couldn't trust, but there was still that maybe. Anyway, thank you because you told me this. It is your private thing. I'm sorry, she said, but her voice was very cold and it didn't sound as honest forgiveness, but she knew that her reaction was over a line. However, his explanation could help, and everything what he said. So, did you find what you've been looking for? Dominic was curious what could have been mystery about Diamond. Spoke. I found only this. He showed her a piece with material with MP sign with Dominic already saw. There is something behind. Diamond turned to other side of it and there was number and small letters of the country. The sign was very hard to sew. Could you see what is this? I read this capital U, but it is hard to recognize the other one. Is it a C or is it S? Dominic looked carefully, but it was not possible to recognize anything. Never mind. This is enough. So, probably some of your family helped a militant from the West to stood here and protect him from dangers. That was the only explanation. How do you know? Diamond was confused. Well, you said that you've been told how something could save your life. She slowly explained, yes, but these things can't save me from my own people. I could lose um, head because of this. Maybe if they will come back. He showed on the sky. Better not. If they come back, wouldn't be good for anyone. The, then that would be a sign of our lost friendship, our unable skills to settle our problems, and that we are losers. Better not. We still could manage our problem. I hope so. Dominic wondered, was she right or her hope was foolish? This afternoon I have meeting with old professor. We have to do everything step by step, then explanation will show up. Probably we will make connection between everything. Dominic continued with her hope. Chapter 62. Come here, come. Dominic was sitting in the dining room of the old professor's apartment. She turned into the direction of the room and sound of his angry voice broke the silence how only that kind of place in aged buildings had. Come inside and tell the truth before you'll be burned, you old witch. The professor was shouting, even that he has been very weak. Dominic heard him, but she didn't know with whom he was talking to. But when the woman from neighborhood stepped inside of the room, everything was clear to Dominic. Sit here and instead to fight this girl, explain her everything. He was rude, and that surprised young girl who watched everything. Woman did how he said. She looked at Dominic, then the old man. Maybe you're right, she started with whisper. Who knows how long I will be on this world? Maybe this is a time, and maybe this girl isn't God's angel to whom I should and I could say everything, then I could expect the forgiveness. She had tears in her eyes. Of course, Professor said with obviously disdainful expressed on his face. Tell this young lady how great betrayer you was. They could give you a diploma for such a thing. He was very ironic. I didn't have a choice. They could kill my boy too. In that hotel was a place for everyone after the family who's lived there had been destroyed. She put the accent of that as wanted to excuse with that world every mistake which she made. Ah, I knew that you could come by yourself. The man with rough face and strange accent had an ugly smile on his mouth. The young, beautiful woman didn't say anything, only what she had done was slow move with her weak hand. She opened the handbag and for a moment was looking into things in it. Paper, hand card with names on it, and on the second was a gun. She wanted to pull the gun and remove that monster who blackmailed her, but what should has be been done later? There were too many of those like that one has been, and only a few who were able to help. Not too much choice, and on which side victory would be. The young woman didn't note so much difference between two of three sides. Every of them were dangerous. She took a card and gave the man, quickly turned and heard behind her back. That's my girl. Next moment was on the cold street and with unsure walk left behind her everything, even the names on a card. After that moment, I never went again into the church. After I found out what happened with those people, I hoped he promised that they would stay alive. The old woman cried. Dominic didn't know what was inside of her, and Professor was staring in the window without any word. It was a strange silence around. I didn't know woman was repeating, and Dominic trusted her. But go. After a few moments, Professor said with low voice, it wasn't anger in it put in it, but the note of disappointment has been very strong. Dominic looked down the floor. She felt sorry for both of them, and at the same time admired because of braveness which only people with unhuman power could have, and those two were like that. See, my darling, when the woman left the room and when Professor was sure how that the front of door were closed, he started. The woman lost her honest only because she trusted. There is part of the guilt, but she believed those days they wanted us to stop trust each other so that we couldn't continue with our work and friendship after the war too. And that was present, and that is one of the reasons why our world has been created like this. He showed around on his room with probably thought about wider area. I was in love with that woman. He started with nostalgic in his voice. That night, when I came back home after my meeting in that house with a friend of mine and his assistant, I opened the door of the flat where a beautiful woman was crying. She sat in the kitchen and kept a small boy in her arms. I wonder should be better if everything had been explained to her. Should I broke my promise and told everything about my friend? But what if that become dangerous if someone asked her? On the end, I gave up, and it was a wise decision. She knew where my friend was, and she was a person who told him everything about happenings in the outside world. But I never found out was that order about the family from the house where the hotel is now became by my friend, or that family was one more victim for the revolution. I mean, who was more important in those times? A leader or one family who wanted to run away? Or as an ideologist, I thought that maybe a mistake came by one woman with love. I never found out. And that made me felt disaster about revolutions fight for everything, sacrifice innocent people because of protection, some friends, and makes of fights for everything. I would give my life. Anyway, she looked at me and took her little boy up. I'm going to put him into a bed. She looked like felt unpleasant because I saw her cry. Faith, wait. Young, tired man needed to set some comfort words to the woman. What a fool I was. And that evening she came back from her biggest and terrible back evil job, which couldn't imagine that one friend was able to do. The old professor, the old professor started to breathe very slow and hard. It wasn't possible for Dominic to hide her emotion, and, however, was harder for the old man as her nice friend has been.